It's the most wonderful time. Well, So I'm sure you've heard of Elf on the Shelf, but now let's get ready for a PDF that fills itself. That was terrible. Today we're going to be taking a look at DocSpring, a service that allows us to fill out fillable PDFs with their API, which is beautiful, especially for the people that already have a PDF that needs to be filled out. Governments usually require that sort of thing these days. We're going to be taking a look at how to automate the filling out of said PDFs using DocSpring. So without any further ado, let's get stuck in. We're going to start things off as we usually do with a very quick demo. In front of us, we have this PDF that we'll need to fill out. This is just the template. We've already uploaded it into DocSpring. I've set everything up, so let's just run automation. I mean, right now I'm in Airtable, obviously, but all I have to do in my Airtable system is just to generate MW507, which is the government form that does something I don't remember. And yeah, there we go. It's done. Now I can open it up and it's all filled out based on the data that I have inside of my Airtable. In fact, I've also done a little signature. That's basically it. In terms of the database, we haven't got much going on, but if you're interested about the design of the database, I just have my candidates table, my very straightforward setup, just a little concatenation of the name. I've got my simple checkbox that triggers the generation of the MW507 document. I've got my status, which is just a long text. I've got my attachment field where I'm just pushing that created PDF after everything's said and done. And then I have my payroll system, which is just a simple, straightforward dropdown, RGCTUM. That is how the checkboxes are set up inside of the PDF. First name, last name, email, a location. That's it. I'm not going to go into the whole spiel of setting this up and filling out the whole MW507 because that's not the point. The point is, well, here's how you can fill this up. Speaking of the automation, let's jump straight in. First and foremost, we have the need to set up a new scenario inside of make.com. If you've never heard of make.com, go ahead and check out the description down below. There's a link for a free 30-day trial of the pro account. And if you use that link, you're also going to help the channel. Thank you. Back to our scenario. First thing you need to do as soon as you create a new scenario is set up a webhook. Very straightforward. Set up a webhook, copy the address to clipboard, and once you've done that, jump back into Airtable. Let's jump into automations. And here we have our little automation here called generate MW507. Our trigger is within the table of candidates when generate 507 is checked, then we run a script. And if you've been on our channel before, you know that I like to use the same script. Make sure that you replace this webhook with the one that you've just copied. Don't use mine. Don't forget to have your input variable filled out just like so, record ID, and don't forget to map your Airtable record ID value by pressing this blue button and then selecting the record ID field over here. Now, the next thing is, of course, to finish editing. Don't forget to turn this on. And that's it. You're basically finished with your trigger. Now, let's jump back into make. The first thing that I'm doing here is I'm actually getting my candidates. So I'm mapping the record ID that gets propagated over here as soon as it triggers. As soon as we trigger the scenario from Airtable, I'm mapping my record ID just like so. I'm fetching my candidate. I'm also updating that candidate by saying, hey, starting up, just so that the user, whoever this is, maybe somebody in HR, they know that something's happening. Here comes the whole thing of how to set this up. So first and foremost, get template. The most important thing to note here is that you need to make a basic auth request. How do you do that? Well, choose the module. Make a basic auth request. The credentials are super important, so make sure that you go ahead and add them. Just press add. Username, password, those are, I believe, your secret token and token ID or something like that from DocSpring. So make sure you check your account for those. And yeah, just paste them in here, and that's that. In my case, I need to get my templates. Or in other words, get my one template. So I'm using this particular URL. I'm going here, method get, parse response, make sure that that's checked, and that's that. We get our data over here, and we move on. what do we move on to? We move on to generating, in other words, filling in that template that we have. Now, inside of DocSpring, it's actually important to note before we jump into filling this out, is that once you create your template, in other words, just go into templates, create a template, drag and drop your fillable PDF in here. And once you do, you will basically be greeted with the PDF itself. And the beauty of it is that, at least in my case, I didn't have to create any variable whatsoever. It was all pre-filled, ready to go for me, other than a couple of things. First of all, home address. I actually had to change this because this was home address and number street, blah, blah, blah. It was like a very long string. So I jumped in and edited it over here. Simple. The next thing that I actually had to edit was over down here in the employee signature. I actually had to add a signature field, just like so. I made sure that it's, well, I mean, it is required, but I think it wasn't, and I made it required, but ultimately make sure that you change the name as well so that you kind of know what you're doing. Yeah, but that's it. Everything else is there and ready to go. Another important note, I couldn't really figure out what this was. In other words, the checkboxes, and they looked like they're checked, but no, they're not checked. They are simply variables placed on top of these boxes. And all you have to do is just copy this name, or in other words, this name, and you see the choices that you can print in there. And all of this was somehow magically done for me. I don't even know. It was already there as soon as I uploaded my template. Now, let's talk about filling this out. Actually, quite straightforward, to be fair. My URL looks like this. I'm basically fetching my template ID from module number 3. Method is post, body is raw, content type is JSON. Yeah, this is what my payload looks like. Test is true. When it's true, you will get these little artifacts over here, these blue ones. If you set it to false, because this is a Boolean, it will actually get rid of them. But be wary that as soon as you set this to false, just like I have done now, then DocSpring is going to start the countdown of your available PDF generations per month. You can set it to true, and that's going to give you, I think, an unlimited amount of generations, but you're going to get that artifact, so be careful. Data, this is where things get actually quite straightforward. All you have to do is just copy paste the names of the fields from here to your little structure over here, just like I have done. And it's very straightforward. As soon as you want to add something, just go enter. And let's say I want to add something like social security number. I'm just going to copy this, paste this in, colon, another string. And let's just say this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Simple. That's all you really need to do. With signatures, it's a little bit different. So make sure that you copy this particular style if you want to. There's other ways that you can do this, but I thought that this was like the easiest way to add a signature. And the way that it's doing it is just basically taking the name of the candidate and it's just creating a little text in there. And that's basically it. You can go bananas with this if you want. Just fill it out to your heart's content. Once you're done with that, press OK. The next thing that I'm doing is I'm again updating the user to say, hey, we're basically finalizing the process. Just like so, I'm doing nothing else to my record. Next thing, I set my scenario to sleep, so there's a bit of a delay for 3 seconds because I want my scenario to kind of like chill for a moment. Next, we have set, or rather get submission, because I want to actually get my PDF for that particular submission, which is over here. And it takes a few seconds. That's why I've set my sleep setting over here. Finally, we have upload file and done. Again, I'm just updating my user with a done message, just like so. And I'm basically fetching the download URL from over here from my get submission. And that's it. That basically uploads that PDF into my Airtable system. I think this is one of those very, very niche tools that is useful for a a lot of people. We've really seen a massive uplift in use cases for people who need to fill out PDFs, and DocSpring is just a godsend. We've had clients recently that do some government work. This was a game changer for them. Let me know down in the comments below what you thought and if DocSpring is going to be a part of your workflows. And yep, looking forward to catching up in the next one. Cheers.